So I wanted to do some photo editing with people so I can show you the power of non-destructive editing. And I talk about non-destructive editing in other parts of the course, or if I've already talked about it, I just want to kind of review. This will definitely explain what that is in action. So non-destructive means you never touch the original photo. You always have it there. So right now I have the photo and I'm going to show you this of what destructive editing would be. So let's say I want to bring out highlights and shadows in this woman's face. So how we do that is the dodge and burn tools right down here. Dodge brings out highlights and burn will bring out the shadows. So let's say I select the burn tool. I have it, let's set on midtones, and I don't have quite as much exposure, maybe 50% exposure, and I start to kind of bring out particular highlights, or in this case, lowlights. Then I want to bring out highlights. I switch over to the dodge tool. It's going to do kind of a mid-tone, and I'm going to bring out certain parts of her face and bring it out. What's bad about this is I'm editing this layer, but if I ever wanted to go back and maybe soften certain things I did, I can't. It's stuck. It's on this one layer. I have no control over it. So how we do non-destructive editing is we add another layer on top and edit it that way using blending modes so that our original layer is always intact. So now let's go ahead and create our new layer. We're going to make this layer 50% gray, and we're going to be able to use a blending mode to be able to get that to disappear. So I'm going to show you this in action. I'm just creating a new layer, and I'm going to go up to Edit, Fill. You can also do the quick command for this. I'm going to do 50% gray, which is an option here. Just click on 50% gray, click OK. It's going to fill the entire screen with 50% gray. So this is the trick. This is where blending modes come in handy. So I'm going to go ahead and access my blending modes here, and I'm going to do overlay. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle this on and off, and you can see that since it's 50% gray, I can toggle this on and off and you cannot tell a difference. So that's good. So what we're going to do is we're going to be able to do dodge and burn tool on this layer, and we don't have to do dodge and burn on our original layer. So it's therefore non-destructive. So now I zoomed in our model here, and we're going to add some of those highlights and shadows here non-destructively. So I have our little layer here. It's set on overlay. I'm going to do the dodge and burn tool. So same thing as I did before. Burn is going to be shadows and dodge is going to be highlights. I'm going to do the burn tool, and let's just do midtones for right now. Let's just kind of bring out certain items that we want to kind of add more depth and dimension. And sometimes it helps to get a small brush to get little minute details. Let's say we really want the eyebrows to be brought up, so we'll just zoom in. And a lot of times you'll need to reduce the exposure so you don't get anything too dramatic. We don't want to have super dark shadows. We just want to bring out certain elements of her face to make them pop a little bit more. Add more definition by adding shadows to her nose, kind of bringing her nose out as an element a little bit more. So it's just not all blended in. Kind of pops out. Same thing with down here, kind of adding some shadows. I think we already kind of did her lips a little bit. You can always bring out her eyelashes or certain elements here. And at any point I think I overdid it or I messed up, you can always reduce the opacity or eliminate this layer altogether and do it again. So that's what's great. I still have my original photo here. I just click on here. I can actually reduce the opacity if I think it's too much, or go back. So we can toggle this off and on. That's kind of our shadows. So let's do some highlights. I'm going to click on our layer again. It's just a much easier way to add highlights and shadows. You don't destroy it. So just play around with range. Highlights are going to bring out kind of more brighter highlights, and then the shadows are going to bring out a little bit of the darker portions of the highlights. So kind of play around with your shadows, highlights, and a lot of times I do midtones because it's kind of in the middle, a little bit of both. And she doesn't need as many highlights as she needed lowlights. So we can go, well, that was a little too much. There's the original and there's kind of the dodge and burn, but that is too much. So I can just reduce the opacity to 50%, and I can toggle on and off and see how I kind of brought out some of her lips and her eyes a little bit more. We could do the same thing with her hair. So with her hair, let's go ahead and bring out some of those shadows. I'm going to get a nice big brush. Mid-tones, going to do kind of a 50% exposure. I'm just going to see how it's kind of bringing out more of those low lights. And I'm using the burn tool. And we can make that more dramatic by increasing exposure or flipping to shadows, bringing out those shadows a little bit more in her hair, making her hair a little bit higher contrast. And switching it to highlights now, to do some highlights really quickly. And this photo is already professionally edited, so this is really just an example. It's already really well done, so it's kind of hard to add shadow and highlights to a photo that's already really well edited. I'm just zooming in. See, those highlights are already a little bit too much. So not a whole lot of changes. Let me bring out her shirt a little bit more. And so if you ever want to see what you painted, go ahead and toggle off your original document, and you're going to see just this gray layer. And you're going to see, if we go ahead and do 100% opacity, you're going to see everything that we've done. You can almost see kind of where the eyes and the nose, where we did kind of the highlights and the lowlights. You can kind of see a little bit of a face here being painted where we're bringing out certain things. Let's toggle our original one off. So we're just going to toggle this back and forth. And that's too much, so let's reduce the opacity a little bit. We just want subtle changes. So before, after, just kind of adding just a little punch. Of course, this is already a beautifully edited photo. Next, we're going to do a photo that needs a little bit more work, so you can kind of see what I usually do when it comes to photo editing and doing non-destructive editing to kind of bring certain photos more to life.